Hello and welcome to once again another live session from Graph UK HQ, and we're back with David in the hot seat.
Welcome back.
How are you?
Oh, super duper, thanks.
How was your Easter?
Super fast. I'm not sure if you can call what happened at the time we head away, but it was very enjoyable. Thank you.
Did you get up to anything nice?
Nothing untoward. No great expeditions, I'm afraid, to report on. Just took some time away to really. It's the first real break for the year for me, so I was just took some time out and saw the family, and ate lots of chocolate.
Very nice, very nice. So I was busy painting and DIYing on the Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday I was around my parents for Easter Sunday dinner. That we had roast turkey, and I said this to you last night.
You did, yeah.
So
the best thing about having roast turkey is
the best bit of the pool tradition in the household is when we have a roast turkey, is we usually oversize the turkey so that there's lots of leftovers. And my nan makes the best pie ever, turkey. And guess what we had left over from Sunday for dinner? Pigs and blankets. So they chopped up pigs and blankets and put it in the pie with sausage meat, extra sausage meat. It was amazing. It is the best pie you ever have. But I think they do a curry as well.
I generally think that with the older generation, they have a lot more attentive care. They've got all these traditional secret methods for cooking. Yeah. With our generation, we're just so pent up on just convenience that we're going to be when we're old and grey. I don't think the food's going to be. We'd probably be eating all these souped up, like quick eat meals and just high nutrition and no taste.
Because that's probably the thing. There's so many calories and fat in that pie, but it is the best pie ever in the world. One of the best.
Well, I'm sure that should be pleased that you like it. Now the whole world knows it as well. They'll be lining up outside the door.
I know, that's the only thing. It is pool tradition. And like the only thing I'm missing out on is they'll have a curry tonight, a turkey curry, and it's amazing.
Could actually accidentally just drop by.
Yeah. Well, it's my girlfriend's brother's birthday today, so we're having a Chinese instead. So you win some, you lose some.
Okay.
But anyway, enough digressing as we usually do. It's time to get into the main topic of today's rainwater research, and that is talking about the benefits of rainwater harvesting for commercial applications. I know we mentioned it in the past on the lives that when it comes to commercial applications of using rainwater harvesting, the usage are much more vast, so therefore the savings are much more vast, but there are obviously more to it.
There's quite a bit more to commercial rainwater harvesting, but I think it's quite a good platform, if you just mentioned there, to really understand what you can do on a domestic level first, and then you can really scale up to how much more of an impact a commercial application can have. So we touched on this very briefly during the World Water Day a few weeks back now, where I said that with rainwater harvesting, generally a lot of people just doing a little bit can have a huge impact. I think with commercial rainwater harvesting, you kind of need to tweak that slightly, where you can say in terms of the grand populace, there's a few people that, in this particular regard, who have the opportunity to do quite a lot. So really, with commercial applications, all the stuff we talked about on this previously on this channel in terms of the applications are still there. But of course, in commercial applications, we've got a lot more access to things like the manufacturing industry and how mains water is used in production of certain articles, and you can quite easily substitute rainwater into those applications. So it really is quite a thing for people to consider using rainwater in industry over mains water. We all know that it's kind of a global problem now, where we have very limited access to fresh water. And where we do have access to it, of course, the demand is so high, we're struggling to keep up with that demand. So the simple substitution of rainwater harvesting can have a huge impact. And some people will be more in a better position than others in terms of catchment areas and how to then move that water about their property, their premises. But there's still great advantages to the application of rainwater harvesting in commercial applications. So yeah, really, with just really building, I suppose, really on what we talk about with the domestic side of things. With the commercial side, we've generally got really accessing into irrigation and agriculture more, certainly on an agricultural basis in terms of what you can use the water for. So farming can be used like the water, the rainwater, of course, for feeding livestock.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about manufacturing and industry, there's loads of different applications where we use main water for manufacturing of things like textiles and fabrics, food, and drinks. And there's also things like paper and like the automotive industry. The applications are vast. So why is something like rainwater harvesting generally not considered more? Just, I suppose, again, really just going back to convenience. We've been so lucky, certainly in this country, to have readily accessible mains water on tap. And really, if we can substitute rainwater where we can, with an ever-growing demand of population and people wanting luxury items, we need to look at alternative methods to make it sustainable. And yeah, rainwater harvesting, the commercial application side is, although, of course, in terms, as I said right back at the beginning, the grand populace, in terms of there's a lot less people, of course, in that particular sector, but how much they can essentially save is astronomical. So like, I think if people were interested, you can just look at the statistics and like find out how much water it uses to like make a simple jumper, for example. It's like something crazy. I think it's about 80,000 liters or something nuts. But that if you think about that one thing versus, of course, someone with their own little private rainwater harvesting system, they're trying to do their amazing bit. And as I said, a lot of people just doing a little bit will have a great impact. But again, a few people who are using a serious amount of mains water can really have a humongous benefit with the substitution of rainwater. And that's, of course, not only an environmental benefactor, but there's huge financial benefits as well. So there's a financial benefit most people think about of just saving your mains water bill. But of course, you've got all the things like the manufacturing of that mains water, the treatment of it, and then the transportation of it around the country. And of course, you've got all the bills and the pipe work and all that sort of stuff to keep maintained as well. So rainwater harvesting on a commercial level is a real eye-opener. But if people are interested in it, the significant savings that they can have, the environmental benefits are humongous. Did you want to jump in?
I was going to say, you've kind of mentioned on it there, but with commercial applications, it obviously all depends on the commercial aspect in itself. So you've touched on there with agriculture. I think we discussed it a few weeks back because the agriculture industry is looking at rainwater harvesting in more detail, mainly because of the dry summer we had previously, and a lot of them, especially I think it's in East Anglia, I think had a drier spell in the summer last year than Greece. Like that's how dry it was.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking at it for their aspect. We talked about, watering crops, washing down vehicles, feeding out houses, feeding animal troughs. There's so much there. And even hotels, you think about all the toilet blocks, all the linen washing they're having to do.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends on the actual commercial aspect itself, because the different types of commercial aspects that use different amounts of water will have a greater saving. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, I would say it's something we try to really highlight to people so much on this channel. Like the benefits in terms of the volumes of water used in industry is absolutely insane. So I just can't. And there are schemes in place, certainly on commercial applications through BREM, which is the Building Research Establishment Environmental Assessment Method, where if you incorporate rainwater harvesting, that you do get some credits towards achieving that. And there are some projects where that is kind of like a standard you need to conform to. So rainwater harvesting on a commercial basis, there is applications for it in industry for achieving a certain like codes of practice. But it just seems insane where it's just something that's so readily available. We're in the UK. We always seem to complain about the rain when it rains. We've got, why don't we tap into it and make it as useful as it can be? And then aside from the general financial benefits, we've also got the storm retention benefits. As you just said there, the potential when we've got droughts. When we do have droughts, we're tapping into reservoirs and pulling water from them, which has, of course, environmental impact on the living creatures there. But of course, those reservoirs need to be replenished. So basically, locally sourced rainwater harvesting systems can have a humongous benefactor in terms of potential impact on those environments. So really need to bring home today, of course, rainwater harvesting as a whole, whether it's domestic or commercial. The benefits are extraordinary, and really people should be taking notes and implementing it where they can.
Yes, I think you mentioned there, and we talked about when it comes to benefits. When it comes to commercial applications, we will say you can save around 80 to 90% of your mains water usage. So financially, there is a viable solution in terms of the amount of water you're using, especially if it's metered. But I think the main benefits of what it does for the environment, in terms
100%.
of actually reducing the significant amount of water that is used needlessly. And when I say that, I mean mains water that's used when it can easily be used for rainwater instead.
Yeah, and of course, it's a lot of talk about the initial benefactors of incorporating rainwater harvesting, the very upfront kind of things like, oh, you will save X amount on your mains water bill. But you kind of highlighted it there with the runoff of water and the potential impacts on the environments for flood water, and the potential damage it can do to roads and like the underground pipework network system. In terms of having so much more water fed down through there, there are financial maintenance and things in place really to keep everything working that's going on in the background. And if we can really look at potentially reducing the impact of basically the collection of rainwater and then the slow discharge of it, there's that side of things, and then there's the commercial benefactors of the financial side. So blimey. I could go on all day, but I'm sure people might get slightly tired of it.
They love us talking about rainwater, so don't feel too bad about yourself. Yeah, I mean, we've covered it there, and there is so much benefits of using rainwater harvesting for commercial applications, but I think the main one is substituting rainwater for mains water.
No, we're substituting the mains water with rainwater.
But you can obviously substitute it for 80 to 90%, which is such a huge volume. And when you think about they're using millions of litres a year, it really puts into perspective of how much water we can save and put to better use as clean drinking water.
Yeah.
So that covers the main topic for today's session. And now it's time for our favourite section of all the live sessions. Hour.
It's slowly becoming hour.
In the news. It's back. We didn't do it last week, so there's not enough news stories anyway. So
Leeds didn't get to do in the news?
We talked about stormwater projects. We're very much in the news.
Okay, very good.
I hope. But the first one is last week, DEFRA, the Department for Environmental, Food and Rural Affairs, I believe, smashed that out of the park. I mean, it says it right there. Had come up with their new plan for water. So recently, the government has come under a lot of pressure to really think about the quality of water in England and the rest of the UK, mainly because there's been so many water companies now that have been fined for pumping sewage into waterways. It's become the amount that the water companies have done is astonishingly horrific, which means that they are putting more of a significant focus in order to clean up UK's waterways to obviously help the environment and safeguard our future water resources. So this includes anything from pollution, storm overflows, agriculture, plastics, road runoff, chemicals, all these sort of things that could be contributing to the quality of water and the environment. So as you may have noticed in the news last week, they announced there's going to be a ban of wet wipes. So Arsenal fans, I'm sorry, they're banning you. But any plastic wet wipes that can be flushed down the toilet or plastic wet wipes that aren't flushable will be banned from
Yeah, I
being
think it's
manufactured.
wet wipes which have a plastic context to them, so
Yeah.
they're not biodegradable. But in general, people should not be using wet wipes and throwing them down the toilets. But I digress. Carry on.
Yes, very good point. But I think because they are a massive contribution to fatbergs and the issues that comes with those kind of blockages and all that sort of stuff, means they are banning them. And there's also a note that farmers will also be supported with an extra £34 billion to tackle water pollution and boost food production. Additional 10 million for farm reservoirs and irrigation. So I wonder whether that's kind of, as we mentioned before, incorporating rainwater harvesting for agricultural purposes, with that £10 million bursary that will be available for farms, but also with what's going on the wastewater treatment side with nutrient neutrality and helping farms to reduce their kind of water pollution and the nutrient runoff from their pesticides. So hopefully for £34 million will be used to tackle that. So yeah, they've come under a lot of pressure, and it does seem like a decent plan of action. How feasible it is and how achievable it is, I think, is another story.
Yeah, it's all about creating awareness and people jumping on board with it. So putting out all these statements in terms of we can achieve this X, Y, and Z. Really, it's all down to the actual people on site to really get on board and do as much as they can to help out.
Yeah. So there's more details about it. So you've got the £34 million grant, the slurry infrastructure grant. So that's all the kind of yes, this helps farmers reduce a major source of water pollution by improving slurry storage as well as the use of organic nutrients on farms. So that's obviously digging into nutrient neutrality, but also when it comes to slurry storage, that is literally every single waste you can think of. It's animal, it's human, it's that's what that is. And then supporting farmers with food production by naming to store water on their land with a second round of £10 million water management grants to fund on-farm reservoirs and better irrigation equipment. I assume Rainwater harvesting will come into that. So yeah, there is a lot being put into place. And there's also, I think they said they're going to put £1.6 billion into improving storm overflows, because the issue with what they're seeing is that when it comes to these overflows leaking sewage into waterways, it's because of the combined storm and sewage network. So I think when I was talking with Lisa on Stormwater School last week, that was a really nice but very simple illustration that showed the combination of kind of the wastewater going in from the various houses and industries and the stormwater coming in. Obviously, as that raises, that means they're kind of the overflows that go into waterways, even though they're designed for stormwater purposes, because they're combined with stormwater and wastewater, it means that the water gets mixed,
Contaminated, yeah,
and kind of flows together. What are your thoughts, David?
I think it's a step in the right direction. Again, I just want to reiterate that this has gone out from, I think I saw this go out through the British Water Channel as well. So it's all really about getting all this context available to everyone who needs to see it. I'm hoping that they've got a decent plan set out to contact the people that will benefit from this. So really we can get the most impact from it. But yeah, it's good that some people are using their initiative and really starting to action things and put it into a practical solution and some finance behind it. So we're going to get the ball rolling on it.
So it very much is looking at improving storm overflows or reducing the storm overflows, reducing the amount of agricultural runoff and pollution, and also supporting them in the agricultural space with better water usage equipment. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And so that is it for the first news story. And you happen to know,
you got another exciting news story.
I've got a really good one. After all this time, I finally found a decent one. And this is a really nice feel-good story. So now, Southwest Water are using sniffer dogs to find leaking pipes.
Really?
Yes, and how cool is this? So these dogs are being trained to obviously scent water in the ground. And basically, they can pick up any leaking pipes by smelling the water that's leaking into the ground. So they're able to detect leaking water pipes. How cool is this? So yeah, so specialist dog trainers, and in conjunction with Southwest Water, trialed the approach to leak detection last month with 2 Springer Spaniels searching 44 kilometers of hard-to-navigate rural land over 5 days, finding a total of 7 leaks. So this was led by them. 8-year-old Denzel and 3-year-old Kilo are trained to detect small traces of chlorine in treated drinking water and can cover rural land more efficiently than traditional methods, allowing for a more targeted deployment of resources. Once dogs have located a potential leak, it is investigated by South Water leakage team in order to repair to be made. They're working around the clock to conserve water resources and fix up to 2,500 leaks. How cool is this?
So this is like the is this the upgraded version or the downgraded version to little robots?
So the dogs find the leaks. They send the robots down the pipes. The robots then locate them to more of a degree of efficiency. But
So the initial outset, these little dogs are running around the countryside enjoying themselves and finding.
Yeah, so these Springer Spaniels are literally running around, finding, obviously, scenting the chlorine in the water to basically see if there's any leaks. And they've 44 kilometers they covered and found 7 leaks.
How many?
7.
Okay.
In 44 kilometers.
Well, that's not very many leaks.
You search 44 kilometers and try and find leaks.
I might struggle with the damage for the pipe work, but that's a lot. I would expect. Well, that's good that the pipe work's only got 7 leaks in 44
That's
kilometers.
very true.
And I'm glad that the dogs were able to resolve those said leaks. I just think that's there needs to be a little bit more thinking about this. That's all.
For God's sake! I try and find a good news story.
To be honest, walking dogs in the countryside, absolutely brilliant. But I think it's more of a nice, jolly dog walk rather than actually a good financial investment in terms of taxpayers' money.
Right, that's it. We're never doing in the news ever again. I'm tired of this. I finally.
We all like little dogs. That's well done for bringing the dogs up. I love that.
Whatever, Dave. Right. That's it. And then he's just done. We're not doing it ever again. Can't please everyone.
Please don't. Don't be miserable.
I'll try not to.
I really appreciate the effort.
I try and find an uplifting, positive story, and some people just, want to see the negative. Okay.
I'm not negative. I just think.
Said, look at the cost of them.
I don't actually know how much it will cost to run, but
I doubt buying 2 dogs and training them costs that much. And think of how much it's costing us.
And how much? We just think about how much is it saving us with those 7 leaks that they've now located and fixed.
Probably a lot.
So they've probably saved over a year. The payback is here versus how much is the initial outset. So brilliant. Well done, Callum. What a great idea.
Right, whatever. We're done within the news. We're going to answer questions now. Might as well get on with it. But anyway, we've had first few questions come in, and they're on the screen now. We'll put them on in front of us. So the first question that's come in is, when is the best time to install a rainwater harvesting system?
Now, I suppose. Depending on what you want to
buy them now. Yeah,
buy them now. Right now, you just jump on it, go down to your local garden centre or jump online, just buy a rainwater harvesting system. Again, you need to think about the application in terms of how big the rainwater harvesting wants to be. Is it going to be above ground, below ground? Is it going to be a small domestic, like little water burst, or do you want to step up and have a more commercial rainwater harvesting underground system where you're really supplementing quite a lot of your mains water consumption through the solution? So yeah, really is no better time to do it. The demand in terms of mains water, fresh potable water on a global scale is ever increasing. So what everyone can do is just do a little bit to have a huge impact in the long run.
And I think also when it comes to best time for installing is, especially when, say if you're doing the project, say it's a self-build, for example, it's best to do it when you're doing your kind of groundworks and plumbing?
Yeah, so there is an advantage, certainly a financial advantage. If you've got groundworks going on site, where we've got like the digging equipment to excavate, that's 100% the best time to do it, because you don't have to rehire the equipment or hire the equipment in the first place to dig the hole and put the tank in the ground. So certainly from a new boy point of view, there's a great opportunity for you to incorporate it then. And if you're revisiting it after you've got a built property, again, potentially a little water work just to get find your bearings and really get invested in how beneficial it is. And then if you want to explore it more, go with a larger system. But yeah, I would say the overall impact from everyone just doing a little bit, floods, prevention, droughts, absolutely insane. So really, people should jump on board and invest in rainwater harvesting.
And sorry, just again touch on say if they're doing the self-build and installing it, they will need to make sure they consider when they're doing the plumbing side of things. So putting the pipework in the house, because with the rainwater harvesting system, you don't want to plumb for mains water, then think, oh, I need to plumb now for my rainwater. You want to do that at the same
time. To look into it a little bit deeper level, you do need to prevent cross-contamination between your mains water and rainwater pipelines. So your rainwater pipelines will certainly be independent from your rainwater outlets. You can't have any links, and there is basically certain air gaps that need to be incorporated so we don't contaminate the mains water line. So if you're going with a rainwater harvesting system, really decide on where you want those outlets to be. Did you want to just use it for garden irrigation and outside bib tap, or some sort of water feature, or outside cleaning? Or if you're bringing it back into the property, are you going to have potentially 1, 2 of the potential number of toilets in your house plumbed to the rainwater harvesting system? Are you going to connect it to your washing machine for your clothes? Really need to have a little bit of thought in terms of the applications you want to use it for, and then plan accordingly. Of course, we're generally talking about at this moment in time rainwater form directly out of the sky into the tank and then back into the applications. But if you're looking to treat that water further, then of course the options for that water enhances greatly. So really need to think about what you want to use the rainwater for, and then implement a solution based around that.
So that answers that one. And then the next question we've had come in today is, how do I know when my rainwater tank is full?
Okay, there's generally 2 quite straightforward ways, I suppose, to identify this. The first one is observation. So whether you've got a below or above ground tank, you can basically just have a quick cast your eye over it and say, oh, it's 70% full. Sorry to state the obvious. The second one is kind of a bit more of a scientific, not really scientific approach, but a bit more of an in-depth approach where you can incorporate a level gauge. This can be an electronic device to detect the level of water in the tank and then give you a set percentage. Or you can have, if you've got above ground tank, you can just have like a clear plastic pipe going up the side of the tank. And of course, the level in that clear water pipe will dictate the water level in the tank. So 2 relatively straightforward ways to implement a level gauge to give an indication of the water level inside the underground tank.
Perfect. That answers that one. The next question we've had come in today is, how can I improve the quality of water, rainwater that is collected from the roof?
Okay, so we generally recommend, of course, just to clarify on that person's points, that rainwater, which is to be reused back into applications, is collected from the roof of the property, where it is said to be cleaner. So we're not picking up so much leaves, debris, grit, all that sort of stuff. So the water coming down to the tank is generally in a much purer form. That being said, the catchment area, of course, does need to be kept clean. So if you've got potentially a mossy roof, the idea would be to try and clean that down first, just so we've got the best opportunity from the outset. You then need to look at incorporating filters. There's many different types of filters. Certainly, you would initially look at like an inline filter. So as the water comes down into the tank, you'd have an upfront filter to take out most of the debris that did make its way through. And then we've got the opportunity to incorporate things like micron filters, to basically have a higher micron, a higher level of filtration to take out impurities. And then more specialist solutions include things like UV filtration, carbon, ozone filters, where we're basically disinfecting and removing metal ions and stuff from the water to really make it much better quality. And then, of course, once we've done that, we can then use it for other possible water applications. So lots to consider.
Perfect. That answers that one. And then, has there been any more questions come through? No, I think that's none more come through, and that's it for today. Yep, I think we got a nod of the head from the people in the back.
Super.
So thank you for your time today, David.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for hosting.
You're more than welcome as always. Next time, don't poo on my news stories that I bring.
It's wastewater treatment next time. I probably won't use that term, but I will.
You pardon the pun then.
Yeah, pardon the pun. Yeah.
But as David just mentioned, we'll be back next week for a wastewater wisdom session, and you'll be back in the hot seat for that.
Yes, looking forward to it.
So yes. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for taking time out of your day to come watch us talk about all things Rainwater Harvesting. We'll be back next week with a wastewater wisdom session, talking all things sewage, wastewater, and all that wonderful stuff. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next one.